Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this info session for the Sasol New Signatures Art Competition for 2023. My name is Pfunzo Sidogi, one of the competition organizers, and I'm here with my colleague Cate from the Sasol Art Collection. And today we are going to dedicate this info session to this document, the entry form, which is a legal document that is binding the entrant and the competition. And it is important for us to help you through this document. Oftentimes we sign documents without actually understanding what we are getting ourselves into. So we felt it necessary to just take you step by step through the entry form and just highlight the importance of it. Cate, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Pfunzo. Wonderful to be with you. Yes, so our first session actually covered some of the points about who can enter, what kind of works and everything. And today we're actually looking at the entry form, and that's a very, very important part because that document contains a lot of information about the kind of works, the legal responsibilities, all those kind of things. And we often find that the entries aren't complete, or the artists haven't really actually studied the fine print, if we can call it that way. And unfortunately, then sometimes their works get disqualified for a silly little thing because they didn't read, some of the general conditions, such as the size restrictions, and that's so sad, actually. So we really want to emphasize that it's so important that you actually read that document and really consider every single point as being important.
So I do agree with you, Kate, that the document does have quite a bit of fine print. You might not be able to see it there, but it is a proper contract.
Yes.
So in agreement, let us go through the entry form step by step, and we really hope that each entrant will also do the same, take time to actually read what is put on there and what is expected of you. So the first part is the who may enter, and I think we've covered that. But again, it's important. It's in black and white, or literally here it's in blue and white on who can enter the competition. But let's move on to which works may be entered. And yesterday we obviously noted that a maximum of 2 works can be entered to the competition. But Kate, do you want to give us perhaps just an indication of are there any restrictions on the type of artwork that can be brought into the competition?
Okay, so there are quite a lot of restrictions, and again, I think it's very important that everybody goes through that entry form. And by the way, that entry form is available on the website, so you can just download it from there. You don't need to go somewhere to actually get a hard copy, but just download it, print it out, and make sure that you actually bring a hard copy with your submission. So just to get to some of the restrictions, so you're allowed 2 works. And they have to be, the size has to be
250 by 250 by 250 centimeters. That's right.
Yes.
So basically 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters by 2.5 meters. That's if you think of it in a kind of cube sense, right? So you can't have a painting that's longer than that. And also you cannot have an installation that takes up more space than that, and you can't have a sculpture. We're just giving examples here. You can't have a sculpture that is larger than that parameter. So 2.5 meters is the absolute maximum.
But also you can actually have a work that consists of several smaller pieces, but doesn't exceed those limits. So, that possibility is actually there as well.
And I think perhaps we should note, Kate, that this is not to limit the artists. This is by no means the competition trying to put you into a straight jacket, but this is the practical implications of the fact that we are going to be occupying the Pretoria Art Museum for the final exhibition, and the museum does not have infinite space. So that's the reason why. So please, entrants must understand that. We understand that some entrants are doing colossal type work or are interested in doing installation type work that takes up a whole room, but these are the restrictions, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's important, if you just think about the logistics, we have sometimes around 100, 120 artworks in the final exhibition, and everybody needs to have a space in that gallery, so
That's
in the
right.
museum. So that's actually why the restrictions there, no other reason. I think what's also a very important restriction is the restriction on the video length. So you are allowed to submit videos, and your performance art pieces, you would submit those in video format, but they have to be no longer than 5 minutes. So that's 300 seconds.
Yeah. Yes, and you've noted previously that there were submissions literally which were brilliant in terms of their character and content and nature as performance pieces or video pieces, but were 302 seconds long, or were just a minute and 10 seconds, 5 minutes and 10 seconds long, and unfortunately had to be disqualified. So that is an absolute rule. So we advise that you factor in the credits. Some artists put in the credits for the video, and at the end who was the videographer and all of that. But please make sure that all of that included must be no longer than 5 minutes.
Yep, that is it's such a heartbreaking thing to see such an amazing artwork being submitted, and then it gets disqualified just because it's it's really, really sad. So please, if there's one thing that you take away from this conversation today, is to check that your works actually fit into all the restrictions, the size, weight, and everything. So it's all actually in the entry form, and you can just check that as well. And we'll also put it on.
It's clause 15, just for those that,
Yeah,
if you look at clause 15 under performance art, you please read through that and you'll see. There are also instructions in terms of how you can submit those videos. Those of you that want to utilize an online submission process, please read through the steps of how you can do that. Otherwise, you can also just submit it as a USB at one of the submission points. But if you are interested in just submitting it online, that option is available. But that option is only available for performance works, so the video pieces. So no other online submission. Very, very important. No other online submission. It is only for the video works.
Yeah, I think while we're talking about that, there's also a little bit of a condition with some of the installations. Some of our submission points can't actually accommodate works hanging from the ceiling or anything like that. And in those cases, we do allow them to submit a photographic or a digital proposal, and then it will be judged from there. And, we'll have, if it goes through to the finals, we'll move that up to Pretoria.
Of course. So, and that makes it, of course, complicated. That it means that the entrant will have to put up that installation in another space and then take photographic documentation of it and then provide instructions of how that installation will be put up in the event that it is chosen for the final round. But again, all of it is really spelled out in detail within the entry form.
So I think just the important thing for anyone considering a installation as a submission, it's very important for them to make contact either with Nandi at the Pretoria Association of the Arts or with the submission point, the collection point, and to check whether they are able to actually install that, so that beforehand. So very, very important.
Exactly. Then when it does come to installing, we do also have some parameters that the entrants have to consider, and that is the hanging system of the Pretoria Art Museum. So the final exhibition will take place there, and the Pretoria Art Museum has a particular type of hanging system. We actually have in previous videos, and also if you go online on the blog, there are some images that showcase that hanging system. The one thing that entrants have to remember is that if you're going to hang anything from the ceiling, it does have a weight restriction, and it is spelled out in the entry form as well there. It must be no heavier than 30 kilograms. That's quite heavy, but please, if anything that is going to be hanging from the ceiling, if it weighs more than that, it will be disqualified. And again, this is just for practical considerations, the fact that it has to be transported from whatever collection point, and it has to go to the Pretoria Art Museum, and also just the ceiling of the museum cannot take more than that. So no more than 30 kilograms, either hanging from the ceiling or from the wall, no more than 30 kilograms. And also they must know they cannot drill anything into the walls, right? They have to use that hanging system. It's a rod hanging system. So that means whatever artwork, painting that's supposed to hang on a wall or drawing or that is framed, it must utilize, it must take into account hanging, that there must be some kind of devices that will assist it to hang properly.
Right, so I think we've covered that. I think we'll probably be talking a little bit more about preparing your artwork in the next session. So, maybe, anyone interested in that can just join us for that. I think another thing that we really have to just also highlight in the entry form is the whole idea of the copyright and the model release form. So if you can maybe talk us through that.
Yes. Of course, now this is really important. So of course we know throughout the history of art making, one of the joys that artists have is to capture images of others, right? If you think of the whole history of portraiture, for example, within painting and even sculpting, there is within the realm of art, we call them the sitter. There's the sitter who is then the subject of a painting or drawing that is then created by the artist. What the competition does expect from each entrant who will be creating an artwork based on someone else's portrait or image is that you obtain consent from that individual. And that's where the model release form comes in. Once again, it's part and parcel of the entry form. So you will have to get written and signed consent from them that you can utilize them in your artwork, whether it's a photographic artwork, whether it's a sculpture, whether it is a drawing, a painting, in whatever shape or form that you are going to be capturing an image of someone. We do need that model release form. And maybe Kate, you can tell us about some of the challenges that we've had in the past, right, related to this when artists do not submit a model release form.
Yes, I think we do live in an age where privacy is actually very important, so by actually including that, I think it's something that artists should actually do as part of their artistic practice anyway. So if at any stage you are actually going to be photographing, painting someone, make sure that you actually have their permission. Yeah. Because, sometimes maybe 2 years down the line or something like that, something might come up, you're very famous, and someone will say, oh my goodness, no, but you owe me a bit of money for using me, So make sure that you've actually got a model release form or a contract in place every single time that you actually have someone sitting for you.
And it's also about not exploiting that individual. So we've had, exactly. Unfortunately, in the past, we've had instances where artists have used other people's or images of other people without their consent, and have gone on to derive financial benefit from that. And then, so we're not saying that the person, you need to pay the person. It's just an issue of ethics and consent, and as Kate noted, privacy, and it is good practice that yes. Artists need to be doing in any event.
Yes.
So yes. The model release form, again, unfortunately, if we get a portrait entry which does not have a model release form, that entry will be automatically disqualified. And that has happened in the past.
I think something that goes hand in hand with the model release form is the whole issue of copyright as well. You know, we often get entries where, you know, artists have actually copied images from other people, taken them from the internet, even maybe submitted entries that, you know, if you have a look and you think, oh, I've seen this, and then it's actually a direct copy of a very famous artist's work, you know. So obviously, you know, that really comes down to plagiarism, you know. And it's a very important thing in terms of the competition. So we're also very, very strict in terms of copyright. So just another thing for artists is please don't try and submit work that, you know, that you've copied from another artist or anything like that. Make sure that it's your own original work, and when you sign this form, you are also actually signing and you are confirming that your work is original, that you haven't copied it from someone. And you will be held accountable to that if it does actually turn out that you did. So it's a very serious point. Yes.
Completely. And just to reiterate the point that you're making, that when entrants do submit work to the competition, they are ceding over copyright of that work to, or the image rights of their artwork to the competition. And that is just to say that and again, it is spelled out in the entry form that the competition, should you make it into the top 100 or be one of the winners, that the competition will utilize your artwork, again, not to exploit you, but just as a form of advertising and promoting you as one of the entrants, and also promoting the competition as well. So artists need to be aware of that. And please, this is really, really important. All of the works that are submitted to the competition are supposed to go on sale. And so we've had situations in the past where entrants would submit works that have already been sold to another client, and then when they come to the competition, they make it into the final round, and then the Association of Arts says, yes, this has to go on sale, and the artist says, no, this has already been sold to someone else. So we will not accept works like that. In an instant like that, the competition organizers do reserve the right to then withdraw that specific artwork from the final exhibition. So again, these are conditions of entries that are clearly spelled out within the entry form, where sometimes artists, we get to that final exhibition and say, oh, I didn't know that my work had to be for sale. Later on, we will, and perhaps this is a good time. No, I think, Kate, let's reserve that for later when we talk about preparing your artwork in terms of pricing, because that's one of the major challenges or headaches that we come across year in, year out.
Yes.
But stay tuned for future info sessions where we will address the point on pricing.
Yes. Okay, so once you've got the art, the entry form together and everything, there are quite a couple of documents that you have to submit as well. So that's also included in the entry form. I think it's very important that you make sure that you've got all of those documents with, because once again, if you don't have all of those documents, your work might be disqualified. So make sure that you've got those documents. Would you like to say anything, mention anything about the documents there, Pfunzo?
No, I think that the documents are fairly straightforward.
And they're all listed.
When we talk about preparing the artwork, we'll talk specifically then about the artist statement, which is also one of the other nagging issues year on year. But that's part and parcel of the documents that need to be supplied as part of the entry form. I think as a parting shot is, please, we ask, especially if you are going to be completing the entry form manually using pen, please write as clearly as possible. It does create a little bit of a challenge for the competition organizers, especially when it even comes to writing out the details of your artwork, the title of your artwork. Name and so on, your contact details. I mean, in the past, we struggled sometimes to contact certain entrants because they either omitted to put in their contact details, or the contact details were put in a manner that was not clear. So please make sure that you write as clearly as possible. We do have an online version of the entry form, so you can complete it using the online functions or the PDF programs that you might have access to. That does help a lot, and it makes our lives easier. But as Cate noted, you will have to print it out and bring it on to the collection point. And that will be it on our side. I know this is always uncomfortable dealing with fine print documents, but especially as artists and creatives. But we hope that this very short session made it a wee bit easier for you.
Yeah, great. I think the most important takeaway from this is download the entry form and read it. Ensure that you've got everything, all the requirements together. Put it into an envelope. Bring your artwork. We're waiting for you.
Cool. Until next time, thank you so much, Cate. And
Cheers,
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.